Okay, it's on.
All right. So the British Council, who are there to um, foster uh, exports from the UK, we're now inside of, and so the British Council are like um, the government's arm of exports. So they've got a chunk of work or a number of people who want AI. But also remember what I was saying last time about Kenya. The bank has come back, but also Marla's been getting active incoming requests, so unsolicited requests. So the TLDR is we've got more demand than we can handle right now.
Right, but none of
Um,
it's for software, is it? It's all for drones, and it's really like the brokering the
no, no, no,
no.
no, no, no. No, there's quite a lot of it that is for software, like identifying risks. You remember the private bank
Yep, yep,
who were
yep,
really
yep.
interested in saying, here's all our data, show us what the risks are. That's one. There are a few others which I can't talk about right now, but they're similar things. But what appears to be happening is we've got a confluence of events. We've got um, a country who desperately wants to leapfrog over the last tech into the new tech. We've got the British Council who are um, there to help exports of services specifically for that sort of thing. So we've got Marla inside of there. And we've got a number of guys already lining up. Um, so there's one guy in Kenya who I think I mentioned before, who the architect guy. Um, there's a proposal in already for him for 35K just for an exploratory consultancy thing. We'll see if he actually signs it. But also the likes of the cancer care guys, they've signed up, but interestingly enough, want to use use us as a way of finding talent around the world, but also um, have a legal entity that's in the UK because of legal requirements in order to keep everything clean. So we've got um, more demand than I can possibly deal with at the moment coming through, and every week it seems to be doubling. We've got that strange lift-off situation where it's like, in fact, we need to like shift servers in as fast as possible. We need to get people in as fast as possible, and then you've got the TFU which continues. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the reason I'm struggling is not because of paucity of demand. Is actually the opposite. There's just too much demand, and I'm spinning plates very
Yeah,
quickly
well,
here, saying, "Hold on,
what are we gonna
hold
do,
on."
buddy?
It's
Like,
like
I
just
mean, what are
I
we
don't
gonna
know.
do? This,
that that is a kind of good position to be in, right? More people want you than you can actually process. So what do we do with them?
yeah, well, because we still don't
I don't know.
have a product up. We don't have a platform up. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I almost had enough in place to show you a Privy demo where you could log in, create repos, and share them around and all that. I I don't know. It feels like we're incredibly close. Like, but
Oh,
still,
it's shooting off like a rocket. The only problem is we don't have the rocket uh, quite right
no.
to be reliable. Because if we shoot off too fast or too early and it goes boom, yeah, everyone's going to go, yeah, okay, we'll move on. So we're kind of in that position.
How
really
would
difficult one,
how
man.
would it go boom though? Like we probably couldn't really fuck it up. It's because it's kind of like a because we're not trying to be a centralized service. It's like distributing shareware or something like that because it's like, well, sure you can run it on our platform, but we'd encourage you to run it yourselves. And if it fails,
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you think of anything I could do to go faster or be more helpful or anything like that, or what?
Um, the only thing you really need in order to move on some of these is a platform um, where we got bot to bots talking to each other in a process. That's it. Because the actual bot to bots are really quite straightforward. What they're asking for is not that hard.
What's a concrete example?
But what we want to do is have um, an example, for example, is the architecture guys looking to take in JSON from a package called ArcCAD and then make a change uh, in ArcCAD and then run it past what's called MEP, which is like the building regs. Um, and they're willing to pay quite a lot for that because that's actually very, very expensive for them.
What part's
But
expensive?
it takes about 3 weeks of someone moving a window from this position to that position and then rerouting plumbing, electricity, making sure that
So
applies
three
to
weeks,
regs and
three
that sort of
weeks
thing.
of a CAD jockey working.
Yep. Yeah. Versus what I think probably would be someone skilled in the art, a few hours, AI based. But they've tried AI 3 times before and it's all failed.
When? How long ago?
And it's all failed because, well, this has been a consistent thing they've tried, I think, over the last probably 12 months, I think they were saying.
So
But
recently they've had a
they're
couple of
doing
shots at
single
it.
shots. Yeah, they're doing single shot each time.
And
Which
so
is
the goal
obviously not
is
right.
there's an is it ArchiCAD?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sure? This one?
ArchiCAD, yeah. ARCHI. Oh, I can't see your screen.
No, sorry. Let me get that back for you. How's that?
Yeah, that's one. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So as you'd imagine this is a 3D visualization architectural package. As you imagine, the back end is actually very well formed. Exactly what we need in terms of definitions. It's like
Right.
this
So
is
they've got an
all
ArchiCAD.
the JSON looks and so on.
They've got an ArchiCAD software. The building actually it's stored in JSON format, and they want to make some modifications to it where an agent goes round and makes all the changes before it
Just
gets submitted to MEP. Did you say?
or no, includes the MEP. So it ticks all the boxes or raises a red flag saying you can't do that because, I don't know, you're running two high power cables next to each other or whatever on their construction legals. So it's like, let's make this
So that's
change.
so all right.
Have I broken anything?
Is it's not the specialty is not just making chat-based CAD. The specialty is making it also check the compliance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. And ideally, they would like to be able to use NL saying,
yeah, move this thing
okay,
over here.
move this window, and then it would be rendered in ArchiCAD, and they'd look at it and do all that kind of judgment, you know, aesthetics thing. but they have to comply with the building regs. And every time they make a change, they need to go and check building regs
How much
before
would they?
time
How much would they pay for
goes into
this? How much would they pay for this?
Well, at the moment, I'll not mention a figure because we're recording,
Okay,
um,
sure.
but it's in
All right. Well, I'll get it off you
high tens
another
of
time.
thousands.
Okay.
Yeah, high
Um,
tens of thousands is what it's worth to them.
right. So that sounds to me like because you can these systems, all of them usually have a some kind of a plugin format. Like you can write plugins for them. Like I've written plugins for a number of CAD programs over the years, and so effectively, how the architecture of that would run is that there'd be our systems. You'd install this plugin on your version of the software. It would give us access to the building data. Then you'd either prompt it or somehow you'd interact with it, and then you click go, and then that would be tokens are burning now. And on our side, we would be running multiple agents that were attempting to manipulate the program and then appraising the results each time. And then when it had found a suitable path through the traveling salesman problem, so to speak, or the
Yeah,
tracing all
or
the
the
paths,
good enough. Yeah, local
yeah,
minima. Yeah,
yeah, when it had found something worthwhile, it would come back and be like, hey, either here's something that we think fits your needs, or we've hit a branch where we can go either this way or that way. Which path should we choose? We need some guidance. And then we would then be able to feed back the changed model data to their running program, and they will continue. There have been several, a number of versions of this type of um, basically selling the computation. There was a company called Green Button around about 20 years ago, and what they did was they put a little green button inside of a rendering program, and when you click go, it sent it off to their server farm. They did some stuff, and it came back, and you paid like a dollar something. And that's kind of, if you boil it all down, that's really what you're proposing here, I think, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly so. And in fact, other than the consultancy, um, we're kind of pitching this on tokens used.
Yeah,
Now,
but it probably
tokens are
gets better
not.
than that, because if we can also have, like, if you want to make compliance, you need a human in there somewhere. If we actually hire the humans so that they're specialized in working with bots and rules, compliance rules at the same time, then the jobs come in, and then the human helps it along, which makes the quality significantly better. And then we sell the output back. So now it's more than just tokens, it's tokens plus human labor plus expertise, which is an even higher premium, because it means to say that without that special skill in house, you would have to pay for it to be in house, which means labor and office, all the fun and games that go with employees and all that,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah,
those
yeah,
are a good
exactly.
class of
And
thing to want to be selling.
by yeah, by tokens, what we're pitching is these are not AI tokens. This abstracts between, humans and AIs
Hybrid, yeah,
and server costs and everything. It's
right,
all wrapped up,
right,
but it's usage based. The model that they seem to be quite keen on is similar to buying a mobile phone, and so you've got the purchase cost of the phone, you've got some kind of base data on that. And then above that, then you pay per token, but you wrap all that into all the costs,
right,
and deliver it as a single service. And this is just one. The risk based guys I'm talking to, I think tomorrow again. This is the private bank with high net worths. But then we've also got the British Council, which has has apparently quite a massive funnel of guys wanting to employ AI, but it also was backed by the British government because these are overseas. These are well, not solely in Africa, but mostly in Africa, um, in order to help service export from the UK. And so those guys are going to be making quite a few contacts over the next couple of weeks. So with the overarching thing, I mean that's um, uh, the ArchiCAD thing is one, but I guess what I'm saying is the number of deals on the table seem to be doubling every 10
Right,
days
but
or so.
how do we,
It's,
not to be the wet blanket here, but how do we know that they are achievable um by us or by a network that we can find? Because that one with ArchiCAD is like, if you asked me to do it and I had 6 months, I'd be like, your chances are about 30% is what I'd give you. That's not to say that.
the thing that we need, well, the thing that we need is guys, talent in that's not just you. Um, so
No, but
we need
that's not
to get
my
the
point. That's not my point. My point is that that's the type of problem that's still genuinely hard, right? Like, that's
sure,
not an easy
and
win that
they're
we
okay with
just
that.
get paid.
They're okay with that because the consultancy is just the consultancy to say how hard it is.
Oh, they just want to know how hard.
And
They're like, how far, how long
yeah,
until this thing is a thing. And if we can give them
right.
a good report and a framework to keep appraising the state of the art, and we're like, well, here's the latest model plugged into your data, and this is how far it got. And if you just wait a year, you can just upgrade the model, and then that'll
Yeah,
work.
yeah. Or what we've been talking to them about is stack ranking. So they've got quite a lot of items on the wish list saying, okay, so part of the consultancy is we'll stack rank those based on difficulty and based on, your um, keenness for any particular function. Let's stack rank those and then let's start nipping off these one by one. So it's not
Ah, right. So
an
you
all or
could,
nothing deal.
right. So you could consider it like there's a basket of features that they're interested in. And if we could probe the space and be like, easy, easy, hard, hard, don't even think about that one. And then here's how to keep up to date with it. That's kind of what they're after, like
Yeah,
an orientation.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I've been selling to them, and they're very keen on that. In the same way as that kind of rapid OODA loop iteration thing. Um, you two baskets of things, hard, versus how much you want it, um, and then you stack rank them, and then you start to get stuff delivered
Right. So
earlier without having to wait for the
yeah.
final
So
thing.
this fits well with that pipeline that I was showing you for data ingestion of large amounts of building information when a project ends for something large like a railway tunnel. It's a similar problem,
Yeah,
right? It's like, here's all this CAD data. It needs to be slightly different and it needs to comply with some rules. It doesn't much matter what the rules are. You should be able to say any kind of rule, and the machine should be able to tell you whether or not this building data meets those rules or not,
yeah,
right?
yeah, precisely. And perhaps that's the most valuable, easy thing to do.
Right.
Um, don't know
And
until I
then,
get in.
yeah,
Um,
then there was a third thing that's been very valuable for a number of years that still isn't done right. Um, and that is the the sequencing of the construction of the building. And it can save about 10 to 12% of the cost if you twiddle the order in which this thing gets built. And it can be all kinds of, because there's a program called, have we got time for me to show you something about this? Like, are you actually interested in seeing more about this problem space, or did you want to move on to some others?
No, this is perfect because
You want to see it? Okay, let me show you.
sequencing, not only inside the project, but at the meta level, is also quite interesting.
So the thing, a good way to think about.
Bottom line, demand is. Sorry, go on. Sorry, after you.
Here we go. Can you see that?
I can.
Yeah. So what's happening here is there's a Gantt chart being made of the project. Or each of these tasks relates to a 3D object in space. The way you arrange the build is then reflected in the model, where you see the model get constructed. So here he's about to show you the timeline. Christ almighty, click faster, dude. You're supposed to be a professional. There we go. So now they're in. And what he should show you is when he hits play, you can see the building assemble in that sequence. And so there's all kinds of tricks to this. I worked for a guy who was very good at this, and he was trying to get me to make software to make this process better, because he knew that there was a lot of money to be saved and therefore made in this area. And it comes down to all kinds of things, like when one of the beams gets loaded in the factory, which way round you put the beam. Oh, here we go. So you see it get built based on the Microsoft project plan, and then someone has to sit there and make sure you don't do stupid shit like paint yourself into a corner, or leave enough opening that you can
break
get
up a wall. Then you need to hit a hole in the wall in order to get the electric.
And then at the same time you got issues like some of the trades are running behind. And so now you're like, well, do you idle everyone else, or can you try and find some work that they can do? So you're constantly having to reschedule. Now, an LLM would be very good at that. But more importantly, optimizations like getting the beam on the truck the right way so that the crane doesn't have to first spin it and then lift it and drop it. It can just do one lift and put. All those kinds of things add up. And so that generalized control of model structure and sequencing is kind of ripe. Like, it's kind of,
Well, test my thinking on this one. The reason I'm quite keen and thinking that this architect thing, if you were to take it all at once, then that would be a big thing to chew. But they have, I think, a series of relatively small, quite LLM, adaptable things.
Yeah, right.
That would immediately give value, but the this area of, as you say, sequencing, but also compliance, is a thing that's actually quite hard for a human to do.
Right, but it's the human acting like a machine. The human is following a routine and just doing it over and over. Like, I've watched these guys work.
It's hugely defined as well. In terms of a dictionary, it's like.
But it's a nightmare to try and write a program for. But it feels like an LLM could probably have a decent shot at it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, where does this lead us? Because we wanna be brokering the deals and providing the we don't want to be solving the problems per se. It'd be nice to have a pop at them from time to time, but like, are we saying that some of these problems we need to
Well,
actually sink into, or is our time better spent just getting them in the pipe and finding people that can fulfill them?
well, interesting enough, it's exactly the same problem you just described. It's a sequencing problem, isn't it? So, essentially, there seems to be no lack of demand of solutions that are, or stocks.
Right.
Quite a large number of people out there with stocks. So that's what I've been working on, um, generating as much demand for stocks as possible without solving any of them. Um, at some point, we'll need to flip into the marketplace of people who can solve these. Now, sure, we can drop into some interesting ones, but that's not really our aim. Our aim is to be the marketplace for stocks.
Mm.
So there's a large amount, and I guess what I'm asking for from you is um, I'm spinning plates saying, yeah, we've got this thing coming, we've got this thing coming, and it'll be brilliant, blah, 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 all that good stuff, without actually solving any of the problems. As in, without actually going in. Now, we could traditionally, you know, hire some people, maybe get some of the Canadian guys back on it and do it that way. But then we're getting sucked into solving individual problems. But I'd rather not be there. I'd rather be on the platform level.
Right.
So my question really is, at what point do we have a platform which we could record contribution, attribution? Same problem with TFU. It's like they're all waiting there going, this sounds great. Okay, so what can we do? When's the kind of portal to log in and start doing these brilliant stuff that you're talking about? Uh, I'm not putting pressure on you because I know that we need to get the trucking stuff out.
Well, it's also
Um,
the same pressure, like the ability to download the data and display it in the browser is common to all. Um, like
yeah.
I haven't yet spent very much time on a problem related to trucking that's only related to trucking, because the problems that are only related to trucking are easily solvable by AI code generation tools. Then they're really not. The things I wrestle with are not
Yeah.
unique to these guys. They're more platform problems. So, can we figure out how to answer that better? I mean, I I think that probably tomorrow, you should be able to log in and create a repo, and then
Now that would be something. Just that
yeah,
would be
and
awesome.
then you should, like, because one of my tests, my automated tests, already pulls a repo from GitHub. I know that it can push, but push requires the holding of secrets on behalf of the user. So I'm not sure how to do that just yet. But um, pulling from GitHub, yep, storing it on, being able to see like a list of your repos that you have, and then you can go into them. Um, that's probably a day or two away. Like, I'll be able to code that using Bolt now because I have the like I'm just trying to figure out ways to explain to you where I am in a way that makes sense. Um, Hang on a second, I'll show you something that you might like. So I've been building a starter project in StackBlitz this afternoon that can let you. It comes with the connection to Artifact built into it, and it comes with like
Hmm.
the login prompt for Privy.io and all that. And so it means that we can rapidly code up web interfaces that are backed by Artifact. So one of the things that I think you would appreciate is where the fuck did I put it? Is a set of LLM instructions that I made that were intended for the Bolt AI to understand how to use the Artifact library. I just want to show you that because I think you'll gain insights to how explosively I think we can move forwards once we have these basic problems like packaging sorted. So hold on a second. It's in here somewhere, I promise you. There, llms.md. So this thing is like an O3 generated instructions sheet on how to use the Artifact library.
Oh, that's cool.
So that you can sit there and Bolt and be like, I want a button that adds a repo. And it's like, here you go. I want the ability to do this and that to the repo and then take the data and contact this web server with it. Like, it makes the Artifact becomes now a component that the LLM can mix. That's where I've been trying to get to.
Ideal.
And so it kind of like here's the fun things, right? Common patterns, how to list branches, how to switch between branches using the Artifact library. And this is done based on the code in the API that I made and also in the tests and examples that I made, and O3 read it and used that to suggest what a good set of instructions are if you don't have all this background code available. It's just like, here's the library, how does it work, what do I do? And then yeah, this is sort of how it goes.
That's good.
And so what I hope is that
Go ahead.
What's that?
No, go on.
Is that like tomorrow I'll be able to have Bolt.new wire up the essence of, I guess, the Dreamcatcher platform, where it's just like, here's how to sign in, here's some repos, and then the issue that I have is that I don't know what to do from there. Like, I'm like, we know that we have this standard data structure in the form of a repo, and we know we have the standard data structure in terms of a stuck, where the two are they're orthogonal. They have properties that are directly not shared by each other, and what then? And what does the interface look like? And are there individual interfaces? Like, does the TFU or whatever need a specific interface? Does a particular task, like does forensic war crimes analysis involve a different set of LLMs processing images and interpreting and suggesting things to think about or research about? Like, is that a dedicated app? Probably. It needs its own interface, but the mechanics underneath are still Artifact, and the logins and all that, and it's still Artifact. And so it then would become a repo inside of Artifact, and then you're either using the app or you're building the app, sometimes flicking between the two, and building the app uses agents, and so it all kind of starts to explode a bit. And I'm like, well, these are the components. What now? Do you
I
see my
would say,
problem? Do you see the
yeah, no, I do, but I think the answer is that we don't know until um, we put some of these problems into it. So, the very least, we've got Artifact, we've got
Yep.
storage, we've got the concurrency,
We got big
and all
storage,
that good
safe
stuff that you can.
storage. We got web interfaces. We've got vibe coding tools. Um, we've got
Right.
sandboxing. You know what next, right?
Yeah. Well, the next thing is the first app that we try and build on it, and being honest with herself, as in only using these tools and not doing any hackarounds, we'll probably throw up a whole bunch of extra stuff
Yeah, just our own
to
usage, right?
traffic itself.
And
Yeah.
obviously, the first thing we want to use it for is to fix itself because it's not that it sucks right now. It's just it's very bare. Like it's like very bare. It does some cool things.
Yeah, but it will always be improving. That's never going to end. That's the whole point of using the tool to improve itself.
Right.
Um, but you prove the tool by the usage of it,
Like
and
a
the
self-sharpening knife, kind of. It's like a self-sharpening saw.
right,
It
yeah,
sharpens itself
yeah,
from its own
exactly,
usage.
and so as to do with exactly what we do next, I think we try and you know um, use use this thing to build another thing, and then there'll be a whole bunch of raw bits or missing bits, and so on. Some of those might be incompatible. We might get some random stuff we never thought about, but the we've got an embarrassment of riches of people who want to use this tool. Um, I think our
Yeah,
main
but
challenge
how
is
many
going
how
to
many of those wishes and desires are detached from what we're able to deliver? Like that's I think my worry is like it's become a little bit too fanciful where people that like like people just making up shit that they want it to do and they're like it'll solve this problem. You're like maybe.
we don't know, we don't know. But then we're kind of diving into individual app territory there. Maybe one app is too fanciful. Maybe one app is really practical and can easily be turned around. We don't really know
Right.
until we put it on there and get a bunch of additional guys, not just you and me,
Yeah. Well, look, I mean,
working
fuck,
with
man.
it.
I don't know what else to do. I just got to keep fucking going. I feel like I'm nearly like real fucking close here. I got a working
Yeah,
browser-based thing that's actually calling, you know, calling Artifact, calling the
yeah.
backend. The performance is good. The price is good. If you ignore the coding cost. Um,
It's all good. If it's any consolation, I've only been at this stage once before in my career. I think I mentioned it when we digitized and made searchable the 1911 census in the UK.
right.
And when it took off, it was like holding onto a rocket, and it feels a lot like this. It's like the demand is like, fuck, shit. Where can we buy servers from now?
Well, we kind of.
More
Oh,
digitally
that's
things
the
that
thing.
work
So there's
that's
a
going to be
couple of things
used.
that hold us up from releasing. Probably a major one is billing because
Hmm.
we can't. Billing's not simple, but we got to do it somehow. And I just wonder if.
That's a question I get asked a lot, actually. Um, uh, because it's like, oh, we want you to do this thing with this cool new tech. How much is it going to cost? It's like billing is billing in terms of getting a credit card is is a known thing, but actually costing is much harder. It's like, well, how much does it cost? What,
But
what's
are
the
you
mechanism
talking
for?
about how much do the services that people can provide through it cost, or how much does the tool itself cost?
All the person at the end wants is, okay, so you've got this thing, this platform you can build on top of. That's really cool. We're happy with that. Uh, I need to forward plan my business. So, what we're talking about. We're talking about, $100 a month, thousand, 10,000, million.
That's
You
not my
just want
question.
some kind of ballpark. Well,
What are
the
they
cost
consuming in that
is
model?
uh, they're consuming uh, the wrapped up tokens I was talking about. Now, by wrapped up tokens, I include humans and bots,
Right.
and
Yeah,
bots
yeah,
are
yeah,
visual
yeah. So okay,
models
so we got to
and
do
other
billing
services
for
and so on.
yeah, we got to do billing for the software and the LLMs because they get mighty expensive real quick. But then the billing for the
Yep.
people is market based, right? Like because the LLM, there's a fixed price. You're only going to get O3 from one place in the world, so you got to pay that price for now. But the humans is a market adjusted rate, and it intentionally fluctuates. It's like, well, what do you want your task to be? How much do you care about time? If you don't care about time, then don't put any money on it.
Well, exactly. And because it's market-based rates, in terms of the buyer, like any market-based rate, say, I'm not going to pay above this. And in terms of the
Yeah,
seller of the
right.
services, I'm not going to sell for less than this.
Right. And then part of the platform's magic or key features is supposed to be able to find other buyers and amalgamate them together so that the seller gets their price met and the buyer gets their price met because they just multiplied the usage.
Yeah, yeah, precisely. And then you've got all the goodness of deduplication, reuse, licensing, for use in other areas where you just, stand back and through attribution get what you want or get what you're owed, as it were. Um, so these are the things I'm being asked for. It's like, uh, how much? Which is a reasonable question. It's like, how much?
Yeah,
It's
it's a
like,
bit of yeah, it's a bit of a child's question though, because it's like, well, what's it worth? I mean, how much when it's like we don't know any of the people who are going to do it. We don't know what it's worth. How the fluff would we know how much it costs? I mean, what do you think it costs? Like, don't just sit there like a child and be like, how much? It's like, well, can we try and figure that
yeah,
out?
but
I mean,
you can see exactly what I'm saying because you've seen it yourself. It's like, okay, you're trying to sell me this thing. How much is it? And you go, "Arr." That's really difficult. That's a much more difficult question than you
so
think
is
it
it
actually
then that
is.
the
But
first
but how
thing
much is it? It's like,
the first thing that we need is a bot that can look at the web plus our data and can give ballpark estimates so that it's not us taking a thumb suck because we don't know. It's that we've got a bit of a method, we've got an LLM, and we got some data. And as we get more data, it gets
yeah,
better. But at the bottom line, we're like, look, if you can refute this, then we are better off because if you refute it, we'll enter it in the system and now the system won't be refutable by you anymore. Let's go get refuted by person number 2. That's
yes.
okay.
And there's also a part here in that algorithm about who takes on the risk because
What risk?
and fairly reasonably, fairly reasonably, if someone says, well, okay, I like the thing, the widget you've got, I want to buy it. How much is it? And you go, uh, don't really know. It's going to be no less than that, no more than this. Probably this
No, but
probability curve.
that's a bot. That's
Uh,
part of the attribution system is the price setting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so that what we're really talking about is who takes the risk. If someone wants to like buy something, who takes the risk if the estimates are off? Now,
What? How can
typically,
that even be a situation? Like you pay whatever you. It's like an auction in a way. It's like you pay as much as you feel it's worth and that you're comfortable with paying. The risk is that you didn't pay
yeah,
enough and the thing doesn't arrive. You lose the auction, right? You're basically
um,
bidding against the future in a way, and the amount you pay,
it's futures. It's a lot like
right?
futures,
Yeah, it's
but
a
futures
funny kind of an
are
auction.
are about risk. Yeah, futures are about risk. It's like who's taking the risk that the thing in the future will do X. And it's like, well, you can hold on to your, store of corn and take the
Right.
risk yourself, or you can sell a future and someone else takes on that risk. But it is about risk, and there's um
I'm not with you, man. Like
the
I know what I'm talking about with in terms of selling and pricing, but I don't think it matches up with what you're asking me about risk. Can you try and come at it from another angle?
let me try.
A simple concrete example maybe.
So for something that's not been done,
Oh wait,
which
instead
is
of
not just a commodity. So again,
can you say that people are asking this question? Can you give me the exact instance of this thing happening?
yes, the architect guys saying
Yeah,
we understand the consultancy fee because that's just a straight, time versus, your price.
right.
Um, how much is it going to cost to do each of these slices on the stack rank?
So hang on.
And
So they want to
if
know the price of the thing without paying the consultancy fee to figure out the depth and the constituency of the stack rank.
which is why I put in the consultancy fee, which is like, well, let's figure that out. But the output of that, what they're
Right.
looking for is, okay, it's
So I
going to
mean,
cost us
we
this to
could,
build that,
uh,
and then
uh,
it's going to cost us this to run it,
but
kind of thing.
that's not a question that matches with what you're saying about risk. You're just saying that they're asking how much. Okay, sure. Here's a bot that can have a guess. It's a better guess than us. If you disagree with it, we'll prompt the bot differently. But that's not what you were just talking about with risk. You were saying who takes on the risk, who's concerned about the risk, and what angle are they coming at is what I'd like to be aware of.
Yeah, so that consultancy fee
Hmm.
put in there as a buffer in order to start to understand it. Now, if you remove that and you just put up a stuck
Yeah.
and put money against it, then we're on well Kent land. Um, but it's quite difficult for the business side to say, okay, I'm going to put up a stock and when I'm going to get it and what's going to do and how much it's going to cost. But the thing that they keep on coming back to is how much is this going to cost to run?
To run. Yeah, but this, you mean like the architectural solution thing?
Yeah, so once it's built, they're happy that building is an unknown quantity and there'll be varying hauling and that sort of thing. But it's like, well, okay, so
Yeah,
once it's in
but
production,
again, you're not answering the question on risk. Like, thus, you're still coming back to they are asking how much will the thing cost to run. I'm not seeing where the risk question is related.
right? Well, okay. The risk is in you could state it's going to cost you $1 to run,
Okay.
um, and if it costs $1.50, then you're wrong and you're going to lose money because
Oh, and you're saying like
you
who's
need to
and but
contract
if
it.
you so if you priced it wrong and they're like, yep, okay, let's do it, and then you delivered the thing and now it costs too much, and they're like, oh, that's not what we'd agreed on. That's no longer economical, right?
That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
They would
They want
take on
to
they would take on the risk. because that's not for, like, they would put up escrow in the amount that priced in that risk. And
Yeah,
part of the escrow could be tied against the risky thing. Like, they might be like, if it costs under $2, you get all of the escrow. If it costs under $3, you get 70%, and if it costs over $4, don't even that's a fail. So the risk
right.
is like, that's the purpose of the escrow. And so it's a if you end up with a situation where the risk is too high for the builders, then it starts the process of breaking the task down. And also, you can get intermediate funders where there's a big funder that says, here's $1 million prize. And then a smaller guy comes along and says, nobody's going to be able to self fund that. I've got 100 grand. I can do little bits at a time, and then we can hit the big one. So the company that's doing the escrowing, their only risk choice is what is the risk of it not arriving, and that's how they price it. There is no risk in terms of it delivering and meeting its goals, because they would state that in the we're not paying if it doesn't do the thing. Their risk is
Yes.
existential. It's like, if I don't have it, what happens? And that's how they choose their pricing. Their pricing is not it, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. But attribution is all about the attribution of risk and reward. The other side. Um,
What?
that is what attribution is about, right?
Risk.
So
No, hang on. Where did the
risk
risk
and
part come
reward.
from? Because we've never spoken about that, and it doesn't occur anywhere in our documents. You've introduced a new concept here.
Okay, but okay, so attribution is okay. So you record contribution,
Yeah.
and then you get attribution. Escrow has its own risk um, calculus, which you just described. Non-escrowed has its own risk,
What's
which includes
non-escrowed? Yeah, yeah, but you got to be
externalities.
talking. You escrowed in terms of what? Like, what does non-escrowed mean in stuck world?
Non-escrowed is just putting them stuck without
Okay,
escrowing any cash against it.
okay, and what's the risk there?
Um, the risk there is externalities. So I don't have any money to do this thing that I need. I do need it. If you guys can't do it, I'm going to have to go and do something else. That's going to cost me. I'd rather you guys do it. That is a risk assessment.
Okay,
And um, and
I'm
then
not
there's
hearing
the
problems here.
reward. No. You were asking where the risk is. I'm not introducing risk into attribution. Attribution is all about risk and reward. I mean, who bears
But
the risk
the way you
and
were
who
originally
gets the
posing this
reward?
question when you came into the topic was about questions that you're getting from people about how they want to use the Dreamcatcher, and you were talking about risk coming up like it was an unanswered question or a problematic sticking point that you'd been hitting. Have I misinterpreted that?
Okay. I probably I misspoke somewhere in between. But what they're asking for is okay. So what they're used to is right. Can you do this for me? And then how much is it going to cost me? And then I'll go off and figure out whether that's worth it. That's different from escrow. I haven't
Right.
talked about escrow with these guys yet because we don't, have a platform to hold contributions and attributions yet. And so the holding pattern is okay. Well, we'll go into a consultancy in order to get you a stack rank of things that you could do. Now, each of these things may or may not cost what we think it costs, but we still need to put a price on them. So it's like I will do, the stack rank number one, that's worth $10,000 to me, to the buyer. And so it's like, okay, well, how much is it going to
Yeah.
cost
Am I
to
so
actually do it?
what is the role of you and I here? Are you telling me a problem or are you simply reporting a situation?
I'm reporting the kind of the real world response,
Okay. And there's no
starting to
problem to be
introduce these
solved here?
things. No, I'm just talking about
No.
the response.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
they're talking about give me a price, which is why I've kind of flopped to the tokens thing because that should easily be folded into attribution when we get it. It's like, right, okay, so you pay
So
a
they just
chunk of
want, yeah,
money
so
for a
they
thing
just
to
want
be
a back
done,
of the envelope calculation on what you think
right?
it
Yeah,
could cost to do, right?
yeah, and then depending on their own judgment, it's like, well, how much do we want that? What impact will that have on our business?
All right.
Is
So
that worth
yeah,
it?
so
That's
what
their
type of value is the exclusivity of it? Like are they going to try and be the only ones with this ability? Are they going to want to resell
that's
it?
not that's a, r- that's a really interesting question. Um, uh,
Has it
maybe
come up?
really roughly about oh, almost every time. It's also tends to be a bit of a confuser when they say, well, if you're going to build this thing, why not license it for others? About 2/3 of the time, they want to clamp it down because they think, it's going to be a trade secret and going to be awesome. But
Yeah,
1/3
which
of the
is the
time,
issue.
they
The
think it's
issue
not a trade
there,
secret.
the issue is that when you only have one buyer, they naturally think that they're the only one and they want to do that. But to
Yeah,
offset that, we just simply say, well, the price is quite high because it is. And then the buyer's like, oh, I can't afford that. And now you need more than one buyer. And when you got more than one buyer, suddenly the locking it down part becomes less of an important thing. And just having it at all, plus getting a cut of the future sales, is now more important. So I don't think we should worry
which is
too much
what,
about that.
no, no, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. But the pattern is quite interesting and worth noting
Okay.
in that,
You, it's,
sorry, go on.
it sounds like you keep sort of teetering on asking me a question, but never quite getting there. And I mean, is there something? I understand that there's a lot of demand, and it's peaking up now. Uh, um, can you think of something that I
The,
can do more or better or less or whatever? Can you think of something?
no, no, I think this is mine to figure out. But the question to be figured out is take the architects. They're saying, this all sounds great. Okay, sounds A. And then you're going to give us, we're going to work out together a stack rank of stocks. Okay, um, fine. Uh, how much is it going to cost to run those stocks, to operate them, to keep them updated,
Who would know
and
that?
so forth? Well, this is the thing I've been pushing back on. It's like, well, that's the whole point of the consultancy, to figure out an upper and lower
Who
bound,
on earth would know
and
that?
then
Right? That's the thing. Like if you wanted to give them, the best answer, it would be like, well, here's back of the envelope. I spent half an hour on it. And then if you spend this much money, then I can spend this much time and the figure gets more accurate.
that's
And
essentially what I've done.
yeah, and
That's
there's
yeah,
more
that's essentially
granularity to it,
yeah.
right? We're like, well, we poked at a bunch of things. One of them's made of metal, the other one is filled with gasoline. So which one shall we poke first? Um,
Yeah, yeah. And I had this conversation the other day actually. I think we got it. Um, they're saying, well, how much is we just asked for a whole bunch of stuff. How much is it going to cost? It's like, well,
yeah, but no one's gonna
uh,
know that, but
you
we can
can't.
always give an estimate. So it's sounding like, so my question of you is like, well, what do you want this thing to look
Mhm.
like? Because I'm like, okay, I got the infrastructure, I got the database, I got the repos, I got the logins, I got the generative front end stuff. What do you want?
Portals can go in and write LLMs that talk to each other with the store and all the stuff that you've already done in terms of,
Right, LLMs that talk
being
to
able
each
to
other.
scale and so on. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like the same thing that the TFU wants.
Well, the TFU wants
They
well,
want a workbench. They
what they
want
want is
GitHub, right?
yeah, which is why I was saying at the top of the call, when you're saying that a couple of days time you just get a repo, that's very useful. But in terms of actual applications, running applications on this, we're going to need, the sorry, TFU guy. We're going to want LLMs, for example, that allow you to change an ArcCAD file and then check a second one checking against LLM, sorry, MEP, probably some kind of hierarchy, different models,
Oh,
and
is
so
that
on,
what you mean when
in
you
order
say
to get them
LLMs
high
talking to each other?
confidence.
That kind of
Yeah,
execution environment, that's what you mean?
yeah, just passing data from one LM to another. So this is my work. Go check it, or do whatever you want with it. But this is
Do
I'm
something.
done. I've done
Okay,
my bit.
so
Yeah.
there's two major components that I've still yet to um, scratch or hit. Number one is the naps in other languages. So generalized naps or universal naps where you can run a Python program or a Rust program or Go program or JavaScript program or yada yada, and it's still just a nap. So at the moment, the naps are simply that they have to be JavaScript. End of story for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second piece that isn't online yet is the Mango query language that we spoke about that will let you run an LLM over multiple files and then pipe the results to another place. Now, I'm not sure if that is sufficient to make an application where LLMs can talk back and forth, because the pipeline could loop, but I'm just not sure. So I haven't hit that part yet. We could just do the LLMs as traditional code, but then that doesn't meet your goal of you want to be able to make the LLMs in there. And I'm like, yeah, I can see how you could do that with a little bit of code, but I may have
Well,
lost
we could
sight of how
write
to do it
the
without the code.
um, if we could write a NAP that calls a model with a prompt that has
Yeah,
access to a repo,
yeah.
and then on completion um, marks it for
Puts it
the
in a queue
attention
somewhere.
of another NAP, yeah,
Um,
then that that would that would
that's
that
it.
would be almost,
All
gold
right.
dust.
Can
Yeah,
you give
that's
me
all we need.
a concrete use case that you'd use that for on day one?
Yeah, sure. Take the architect thing because it's the live example. You make a change uh, using um, an LLM by through natural language. Move this window. Then that window having moved has a cascade impact on, right. I'm going to now ask the electrical LLM, does this still work? I'm going to ask the plumbing LLM,
Ah, I get it.
does it still work?
So you wanna say move this window over here, okay. And then there's an agent that's a specialist in the electrical compliance that says, okay, here's your errors. and then there's another agent that's a specialist in orchestrating, where it says, okay, electrical's out by X and plumbing's out by Y, and so if we twiddle this and that around, and there's like this loop between experts that sort of get all checked in with each other, right?
Right.
That's kind
Right.
of what you
And
want.
then exactly, and you can include an MEP expert in there saying, well done, guys, but you've just designed something that will fail building standards. Think again. And then there's probably an orchestrator saying, look, maybe the window cannot possibly be there. There's no reasonable solution. You've
Yeah,
tried three
right.
times
Yeah,
down the
like
loop.
there's a
So
watchdog structure that's like, okay, we've burned $10 of tokens and it's been half an hour. The human's probably going to want an update. Let's summarize where we got to.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Now, that isn't a blend of us solving the problem, but also using Stux. So to deliver that, we could probably break up the work and say, okay, we need these types of connectors to the ArchiCAD program. You would have to get, at the very minimum, some example before and afters. Like, you're like, here's the architectural drawing before the request came in, here's the result after, and here's the intermediate, here's the pushback snapshots. Like, when after a week's work, the CAD jockeys were like, no, you can't do that. You're like, we would need to see those so we get a feel for what are the CAD guys doing and what types of problems are we talking about. So we need that.
yeah, yeah,
Can you
yeah.
can you
Which
get
is
that?
exactly what the yeah, that's exactly what the consultancy period is, which is a bunch of conversations with the guys who are doing it now and saying, well, how do you do that? It's like, well, first I've got to do X, Y, Z, then A, B, C, then I've got to go back and check, and if it's wrong. So that process flow, what I'm intending to do is capture through just recordings, um, and then uh, stipulate that in some kind of well-formed format. And it's like, okay, so this is what they're trying to do, but then the actual thinking that they do at each step needs to be handed over to an app to actually do. So if you imagine the capture of the process, I think it's going to be really straightforward. Every process step needs some action to be taken, and that's going to be a nap, and then that nap needs to hand over, the result to the next part of the process, and the next, and the next, and the next, and then some kind of overwatch, and perhaps we run it 3 times on 3 different models, and get some kind of voting logic in there, um, in order to get this process that used to take 3 weeks down to 3 hours, albeit you might burn $50 of tokens, 3 weeks
That's
of,
a good deal.
someone skilled.
It's a great deal.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as we can get that passing off, so a nap running, um, and then storing its output to storage that you've already built,
Yeah, but buddy,
and then
why
triggering off
isn't
the
it
next part.
why isn't that problem just like having an agent in the CAD program? And why why does it need to solve it on its own? Why can't it be guided by the CAD jockey? Because what I'm thinking it is you're like, okay, they wanted to move that window, and then the CAD jockey goes, okay, so move that pipe this way, and then now it's caused an error at the floor above, so we need to move all the pipes on all the floors, and that updates the number of fasteners we need. Now it's like a a 3/4 round fastener instead of a half round, and it's just that kind of stuff. But you should be able to do it chatting to the agent rather than expecting the agent to solve it and come back with a result. So it's more like multiple frequent calls versus big long ones.
Well, I don't know how long any particular call is going to be,
They'll all
but
be about
I
they'll all
think
be
the
about the
danger.
same. It'll always be about a minute. That's just how. And
Yeah, what was I about to say is the danger is in putting against any one model um, uh, an impure input. So um,
what
you
I'm
could
trying
do
to
it. Let's say see if I understand this. You're saying that why not just throw up a single O3 mini instance, tell them about
no, what I'm what
CAD,
I'm
and get
what
them
I'm
to do
really
it everything.
what I'm really trying to say, if I can say what my end goal is, I think it might change what your intermediate goal is, if that's cool. My
Mhm.
what I'm trying to get at here is that these companies that make Navis Works and ArchiCAD and all this, these are like multi-billion-dollar companies. And are we simply saying that we're proposing to make an agentic CAD system, and then these guys are going to come along and we'll be fighting with them over features, over access to data, over being able to integrate with their plugin systems? Like, it's a you know that this is coming, right? This is absolutely coming to CAD the same way it came to code. And so, are we early enough that we can have a good ride on this thing? Or is it? I guess that's research we would have to do. Like, where's the industry sitting right now? Because that sounds like fruitful startup territory. If we're like first in the door, we could be like the cursor of CAD. Where it's like, you know,
Yeah, I'm
they
not
just
really
wrapped
thinking
VS
about it
Code.
along those. Yeah,
And to be
I'm
quite
not
honest,
thinking
their
along
product
those
is crap.
lines.
Their product is crap, but I pay for it, and so do a lot of other people, only because, but
Are you
um,
a user of ArchiCAD, eh? Yeah.
no, VS Code, Cursor. I use
Oh,
Cursor,
right.
right?
Oh, cursor,
And
cursor. Yeah, yeah.
Cursor's agents are the same as what we're just really talking about with ArchiCAD. We're just talking about an agent in ArchiCAD or a cursor of CAD. And what I'm trying to put to you is, I'm like, well, this is either massive or stupid, depending on where the industry's at in their arc. Because, like, Cursor is a crappy program. They just wrapped an open source editor and put an agent in and did a kind of a bad job. And now we all pay this obscene amount of money to them. We could be that for CAD, but I'm just wondering, is it too late? Like, I mean, we wouldn't want to, like, you wouldn't sit there and come to me and say, hey, I think we should compete with Cursor. Let's make an agent for VS Code. You wouldn't say that, because that game's kind of over, right?
Right. So no, that's not what I'm proposing. So I'm holding close to our Lodestar, which is sure, maybe we could do a cursor equivalent for CAD, and maybe
Right.
that would be a great business to be
Which,
in.
just to be clear,
Um,
I have held that dear to my heart for a long time. I just want to say, and
I know,
every day
I
or
know that.
so,
Yeah.
I come up with
Mm.
ideas for how to do exactly that. Let me show you some that I had uh, today. Here we go. 28th of April. LLMs driving CAD models. This was exactly the
Mm.
thing that you're talking about. Like, I think
Interesting.
about this idea a lot, okay? And I'm still reticent because I'm like, how I don't know anything about the industry, but if the industry is dead, we should go for that because it's gonna happen.
I would abstract it to any industry that hasn't properly used LLMs that is based on well structured and well understood rules. Um,
Processes where
is
like
right.
where the people are like robots.
Yeah. But the thing I was going to say is I'm holding to um, the Dreamcatcher in that it's not our business to jump into CAD. It's not our business to jump into drones or jump into, you know, checking wildlife on the border of Kenya and so on. It's our
But it
business is in allowing others to do that in a platform.
Yeah, but that's the
And
thing. A
sure,
lot of
we can jump in if we
the
want
platforms need
to any one
seeding.
particular one.
The platforms need seeding. Like, you need to say, okay, we've got some base libraries that can interpret all the different kinds of CAD format, and we've got this infrastructure that can do huge grid-like computation as well as LLM
Yeah,
access and blah 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 blah, right? And then we're like, here's the problems that need to be solved using that.
exactly. What we're talking about there is naps. It's like we need to seed with naps, and so we may want to jump into, maybe it's CAD, maybe it's something else, maybe it's production lines, maybe it's shipping containers. Who knows? We can jump in to any one particular one, but the reason we do that is to seed naps, in order to get people to um, structure naps on the platform
Right.
and then create stocks
Right.
because
So
stocks is our business.
we do anything that enables more stocks to be created on the platform. Right? Like,
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
use of our time.
and yeah, that is the sole use of our time is to seed enough that it's a rich enough network, and our hopper is
All right. So
bulging, um, in
let me
order to create stocks.
let me put something to you then.
Hmm.
If we could hold on, buddy, it's coming. Sorry. Um
No worries.
if we could make the case that we can make a sort of a cloud-based CAD framework that's good for agents to be upon, and we can demonstrate the prototype of it, and we're like, here's the attribution model, and we're going to make this platform that's entirely plugin based, so like every single button in our CAD program is the result of an individual contribution from someone making it better, yada yada. We could make the case for funding where we're like, hey, we want to raise a small pot of capital because we think that in this area is the next cursor, but it's going to be in CAD. Here's our flimsy system with a good prototype, a good base where we've got this artifact database plus this network of people. And so we'd like to raise some cash to pursue this thing because we think that there's a rich vein in there, if we can get underway. That sounds like a good use of time because that would unlock a lot of value for us in a relatively green field.
Yes, with relatively to be checked because I've not done a exhaustive check about who's doing what in this, but we have one very real person with cash wanting to spend that to do exactly what you just described.
Right, but they want to
Um,
do it. They maybe don't want to get into the game of launching a cursor startup, but they might.
or they might because they know what they're asking for is expensive, but it's valuable to them. If it's cheap, then we're talking about licensing. We're talking about attribution. It's like, well, if you want to pay for half of what it's actually going to
Oh, so you
cost to
think these
build
guys
this,
could be one of the seed users or seed investors or seeders, seed escrowers of the ArchiCAD cursor venture?
yeah. More importantly, if I can take a step up into the Dreamcatcher level, what we're looking for is an innovation platform. That's the point. Now, there seems to be three tranches of people that I'm talking to. The first one, like TFU, want to give it away, but don't want to anyone else to make money from it because they are volunteers. The second one is we can afford this, we could make use of it, and if there is upside, we want a bit of a kickback from that. If we pay half, and someone else pays half, then that seems fair. And then there's people like the bank who's saying, no, we want to just own this. So there seems to be three tranches
So the
coming up.
fully owned, the want it for themselves as much as they want to make some money off of selling it. And then there's the want to make no money. Sorry, how would you
But they
sum up the
want to
TFU
be
in that?
taking the piss.
Uh,
They don't want to be they don't want anyone else to take the piss by stealing their idea.
so don't want to.
They've
So
got
there's want to own the whole pie, want to share the pie, and then don't want to miss out on the pie.
yeah, yeah,
And so we're saying that in terms of drones, we would be offering the attribution fits because we're saying, look, guys, it's essential that you commercialize this because you need money to do the things you have, and we have a way to make sure that no one takes the piss and that there's no
right,
corporate greed, there's no shafting, there's no any of that. We
yeah,
maintain that the prime effort stays focused and the commercial gains support it, and the structure,
yeah,
you don't get someone tasking you. It doesn't, right? So that's the
exactly.
TFU.
You put in let's say 100 units of time as a volunteer. You get nothing for that. Um, if through reuse and dedupe elsewhere, as long as it's in line with your values, which is quite an interesting one, which we haven't gone into, that becomes 150, 200,000 units of effort into what you're actually trying to do. Then you're leveraged. That's what those guys want. Then the middle one, the kind of shared pie one, is we want the world, but we can't afford the world. So we can go kind of go halfers on the world.
What do I get for half?
Um,
Yeah. But I don't
yeah.
understand, what do we
If
do
anyone else
about
wants to do it,
the closed guys?
the closed guys, I think really what we're talking about there is, and they should, in a decentralized thing, it's odd to think, but a closed set of NAPs running on a decentralized system, I think, isn't a problem because what they want is, well, we've got commercial secrets. We don't want anyone else to know.
No,
We
but
think that
so
we
what
are
are they
going to
keeping
own that
secret though?
world,
Like, are
and
they keeping
we'll pay
secret
it.
their particular instance of it, and we can go sell the instance to, we can go sell the software to anyone else? Like, they
Um,
want to keep the
I
data private,
well,
or
I
do they
guess
want to keep the capability private?
um, in the closed one, they want to keep the capability unique because they think that they can afford to buy the world, and they want the whole world when they buy it. They want so they're the monopolistic ones, but uh, they don't mind if by buying the world they um, they don't have to reinvent everything. So you can pull in stuff from the volunteers into the closed world thing. The volunteers don't mind because the volunteers get paid and their incentives are aligned, and you get more money for the front line. The closed world guys say, well, that's fine because nobody else gets whatever is unique that we create, but we understand that our uniqueness is probably only 10% of it, and 90% of it we don't need to recreate. So the monopolistic guys uh, benefit from the 90%, don't have to do that again, but the 10% they want to lock down because that's their state secret.
Yeah,
The
that
middle
that
guys
seems fine.
can't really afford it. Yeah, middle guys can't afford. You see where I'm going with this one? It really does all work. Each of those tranches inside of the attribution system does work.
Yeah, so the
If you
the
have
the one that
the
the one that want to
naps,
stay fully closed, basically, we'd say to them, look, you want private stocks, that's fine. That's the highest price, and you will have to accept that because the market is smaller, because of your privacy requirements. Therefore, the
right,
price is just going
right.
to be higher. The rate is higher. The uncertainty is higher. But we should always be able to work with them and say, look, these chunks of problems are generic. So why don't we chuck these ones out to the public market because they need solving. We can get them cheaper, faster. We can get a better return for them, but they're not critical to what you're trying to do anyway.
Yeah, and at the platform level, they're not for that 10%. Maybe only 1% is actual secrets. Probably it's just rewiring stuff that is already there,
Yeah,
available off the shelf.
I think what we're going to see is that like the trouble that we're seeing is that as soon as you declare a feature, you can pretty much have it now. And so keep it a secret all you like. But if you want to sell it, you need to tell people what it is, and your customers are going to experience it. If it's some kind of a unique protection that you're giving them, they will be aware of the features, and that means that someone else can clone it.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah, but the cloning license, of course, is reciprocal. If someone clones it and improves it to continue using it, if they improve it, then they need to give their improvements back to you on some, licensing thing, which is effectively reciprocal. So you get free improvements. Maybe you use it, maybe you
mm.
don't.
So hey, there's already a significant number of agents propping up in the CAD world.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't because it's a well formed, well understood, and really quite easy problem space.
Yeah, I think there's an angle to be had where we have specialized humans that can help with the job. So it's like hybrid work where it's
Hmm.
an agent on its own is never going to get it, but an agent plus a human probably will, and that's what you pay for. And you don't want to have that sitting around in house. You consume it the same way as you consume deep research from OpenAI. You give it all your data, you tell it what it wants. It comes back with a few questions here and there, but generally that's how it's working. That seems like a better model to pursue.
Yeah, and I mean, for want of a better way of saying it, it's a bit like Mechanical Turk
Mechanical
leveraged by
Turk on
AI.
steroids, yeah. And then you also want, I think there's also a big market to get into with selling the certification of the compliance. So you're like, it's all well and good to be like, I've got a rule checker here, and then down the bottom it says, ArchiCAD GPT can make mistakes. Check important info. And you're like, well, that's about as useful as a fucking right, and
So you
so
can't trust it.
right,
Basically, is what they're saying.
right,
Yeah.
but if we could find a way to sell the service of it being certified, where we have like some chartered engineers that we work with, and they certify the plans as well as like so that you're selling this whole. It's like yeah, it's an LLM, but it's also guaranteed and it's cheaper. That's a pretty good deal, I think.
It is, and the deal gets better with the number of architects working with this, um, and um, the monopolists, remember, are getting they've got very very niche problems to solve that are very viable problems to solve, which is why they're
Mm.
bothering. But when you're talking about a CAD package, nobody bats an eyelid about just buying a CAD package off the shelf.
So
Um,
there's kind
and
of this
so,
spectrum,
but
right? There's
the
like a spectrum. Sorry.
no, no, go ahead. I think you're about to say what I was about to say. Go ahead.
There's a spectrum of monopolistic tendencies that is for each of the actors in our system. We can model certain types of uh, problem spaces, industries, and all that. We can score them on a monopolistic or whatever the opposite of that is, a omnipolistic.
Poly-
Om,
Polyethers? No.
I don't know,
Yeah,
whatever,
whatever it
something. The
is. I don't
opposite
know
of
what's the opposite of monopoly.
monopoly,
Yeah.
which sounds a bit stupid
Yeah.
anyway. It's like single many,
Poly.
poly. So, or poly mono, all for one. Um, in those opposing forms, that's where we can score. What is it like? Likelihoods or classes of problem where you need kind of the right mix to get things right, and tilt we can tilt the system and we can appraise our opportunities differently depending on those types of things. If you cast your eye across numerous industries, there are for unknown reasons in a lot of cases, some industries tend to be more open than others who tend to be more closed, and it differs between countries as well. So it's very much a cultural random thing.
Yeah, and at the meta level of the Dreamcatcher, we need to be able to accept monopolies, um,
Mm.
uh, dipopolies, or
Yeah, we need to be able to
polypopolies, or
accept them
whatever you
all,
call
and we
them.
need to be able to model each one, and be like, you should be able to pick it. You're like, I'm a monopolist, and you're like, that's cool, man. Here's your tools, and
But
then
yeah,
someone else is
it's going to be
like,
expensive.
yeah,
Brace
right.
yourself. Yeah.
And you're like, it's gonna be expensive, but you might just get ultra rich. Um,
Right. Or you might not. Or you could, make a widget and then just give it free to the world because of attribution. You get,
yeah.
always always wondered who had the patent on the star sign on the old telephones. It's like you get a fraction of a cent every time someone hits that button.
So
Yes.
okay,
So
so
your spectrum is the right way of thinking about this.
what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Right. Right now, um, I continue to spin plates. There's a lot of people who are coming in and saying, right, can you consult on this? Um, we have a bit of a window where that consultancy will need to be, okay, well, you could do this, could do that, could do that. And what we want is at the end of those consultancies to go into the Dreamcatcher because, it's a wide and welcoming church. Um, but the platform itself, so that's the Dreamcatcher level, but we've also got the platform level. The platform level really just need a way of getting naps, um, whether NL or Python or anything else, to talk to other naps in some kind of sequence with some kind of storage. Really, if I had that, a lot of these problems would be really quite simple to solve. That's what I'm really crying out for. And
I'm
there's
still not
also
sure.
other
I'm
ways
still
of
not sure
doing it.
exactly how how I would present that to you as an interface, but I'm pretty sure that the components are in there. I think we'll just have to sort of get together and be like, look, uh, and I'll just kind of
To be honest,
nudge it forwards.
I wouldn't worry too much about the interface because uh, it's easy enough to generate an interface
That's not my
as long
point.
as there's an API.
Yeah, that's not my point. The point is, how does it all connect together in a
Uh,
way that you want to use it? That's not clear to me, and that's what the interface solves. The interface is the
you're talking
handshake
about not
between
the
you and I.
HCI. You're talking about kind of AI CI or
Well, it's
something.
more like I need to use the interface and giving it to you to use and getting feedback on it to know what needs to change. Do I need to change the back end? Is it just a front end? Do I need to just call something a different name? That kind of problem. Well, I don't know any
Okay.
better way
Well, I
than
can
to
state.
just.
I can. Let me try and state it as clear as I can, and I might need to get your feedback on this one. But what a nap, which can be obviously a whole bundle of things, including an LLM, um, is a thing that I can write. So here's a structure, right? It has a place to store. That storage is available to another NAP, and there is some way of orchestrating NAPs. So, say if you had one NAP saying, right, here is the process, you do this, you do that, you do that, you do that. They're all stored, and then the end one comes up. That's really that would solve everything. It's like a way of orchestrating and a way of
Yeah,
getting from the
I
storage, and
I
that's all.
get I it's just how to present that to you in a way that you can set it up and modify it and play with it. That's w-
I'd be happy with just command line, to be honest. I don't know what you're
well,
saying
even
by
no,
how
I
to
don't think you're
set it
listening.
up.
I don't think you're getting what I'm trying to say. Like, even with command line,
Mhm.
I still don't know how that would work. We have to try some things and see how we go, because that's not a trivial thing. You can't just be like, I know exactly how that needs to look. Can you?
No, other than the layer. So I'm quite an abstracted high
Yeah,
up
that's the
layer on
problem.
that. It's like,
Your abstraction, like, yeah, I
yeah,
agree with you, and that's what I'm trying to hit. But it needs to be reified at some point, and how it gets reified is going to be the place where we sort out the.
yeah. I don't know enough about the stuff that you've been doing to help with that one. I can
That's
give you that abstraction layer about,
yeah, yeah. So
you know, but
what I'll do is I'll take a couple of stabs at it, and we'll just have to have some feedback sessions where I'm like, here's this thing, how does it not work, and then I'll go away and fix it and come back. But I believe
yeah,
that will be very
that's
quick.
cool.
Like, it'll be like the next day I'll have something for you, because I am thoroughly convinced that the unit of the repo with its soul branch paired with these stucks that can float between repos, I believe those are all the components that we need to give anything that you want.
I think so. I think so. And what we're talking now is um, a wiring diagram. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
when
thing.
we're,
Because
you know,
you
it's
can
like
wire it
we've got
multiple ways.
we know the wires, the ampage, and we got
Yeah.
the plugs, but now we need to wire up a skyscraper.
Yeah, you can choose a lot of different
So
options. You can choose a lot of options, and which one's right, we're not sure. There's another
yeah.
question that arises from that is, so we've been over permissioning, repos, child repos. Um, the repeatable execution is probably going to get left till last. Is that something that you depend upon, or you, in your mind, you need?
By repeatable execution, you're not talking LLMs. You're talking about
Yeah, LLMs, but well,
linear.
regular applications and LLMs, so that you can verify the state of the file system independently. So if you
Ah, right.
the
The
blockchain, the
the
repeatability part of the blockchain.
exact um uh the this is one of the pragmatic choices. I think we should be pragmatic in that with a small number of users, the likelihood of collisions is low.
What does
So
collisions have to do with
um,
repeatability?
repeatability. I'm maybe I've got you wrong here, but we're talking about a lock state, writes, and then read, and then um, if someone else has been doing something else, they know that their data is now stale. Is that what you're talking about?
No, not at all. We have that right now. That's what I would call the
All
minimum
right.
to be
Okay.
able to
So
operate. That's consistency. What I'm talking about
right.
is the blockchain computation, where it says that if you put in an input action and then an LLM runs and comes back, and I depend on that result too, I need to be able to rerun that calculation and verify that the exact same result came back. Otherwise, I can't trust it. That's repeatability.
I don't think we've got that at the LM level yet until
We
we
do.
get into some
We do.
some kind of hierarchy of LMs required.
What?
If
We
you rerun the same query on an LM, we're going to get a different result.
No, you're going to get the same result if the model supports it. All the OpenAI models support a seed parameter, which gives you the same result back for the same input. Provided all your
Oh
inputs
yeah,
are
no,
the
that's true.
same, you
That's
can
true.
get
Yeah,
back
yeah,
the
yeah.
same
I
result.
stand corrected. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, and we can dial that back
And
or
and
make it more creative.
if you're
Yeah,
running something like DeepSeek, they have deterministic settings that you can set, which means that it's gonna give you the same result back every time, which means that I could double check it. So if we're I guess the only reason you'd need that is if some of this demand that you're seeing is in collaboration or cooperation, like settling gas trades and things like that. Like those are the, I think, really lucrative ones, because no one's even talking about them because the technology is poorly understood. But if you can like
yeah,
have
yeah.
a third party that is just virtual and it's just an LLM that's run repeatedly by all parties concerned, like a Ouija board, that is a magical money making piece of kit right there.
It is, and yeah. Sorry, I wasn't getting what you're saying about repeatability there, but repeatability really becomes valuable when there is distrust in the other actor.
Yeah, 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 that's
Um,
right.
none of the things that we've got going at the moment in the hopper
Right.
require an
Do you
adversarial
think do you this
situation.
is do you think you can find some? Because those are massive
Uh,
opportunities.
give it a go. I'm pretty
Can you
sure that
find a
there's so
place?
many things running.
Yeah, but can you find a
Uh,
place in the TFU where that would be needed? Because what'll happen is
adversarial.
we'll make all these systems, and then some jackoff's gonna go,
Yes. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
One immediately springs to mind is uh, the sharing of ideas inside of the TFU. People are quite reticent and tend to make their own huddles of trusted individuals.
Mm.
instead of making it wider. Um, Even though that is a stupid thing to do, because if everyone's got the same head mark, everyone should be moving together. But they're not moving together; they cluster. Because if you sit there thinking, "Oh, the work I'm doing here is going to be used by someone I don't know," and then they're going to spin off a company, and they're going to get rich, and I'm not, and I'm going to be pissed by that. So possibly that's one. There
There's
might
a
be
there's another one
there
that I
might be
thought
a
of for the TFU, which is to say that. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
say. Oh,
Sorry, you were saying?
can you hear me now?
Yep, yeah, yep, yep.
Oh, that was weird. Sorry, I was scratching my head and accidentally tapped my
Oh,
headset
right.
rapidly, and apparently that was an instruction of some sort.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, that's pass through.
uh, so yeah, I get what you're saying. So I'll have a think
Okay,
about
hang
that.
on, hang on. There's another
And
opportunity. There's another opportunity for it to be in the TFU, and that opportunity is
yeah,
to have an LLM that was trusted by all, that could talk to you about information from all the efforts at your particular clearance level, so that you could rapidly find your people or duplication or deduplication. And that's a case of, it's a trusted intermediary that you need to break the huddles. It would never give away the information inside each individual repo, and you could audit its operation to be sure that it didn't, but it would be like a concierge.
yes,
The reason why I
yeah,
seek these opportunities, Maxwell, is because without them, we are unessential, because it's a flimsy argument to say that you need a blockchain to be able to do the attribution thing. Sure, it's the ideal version, but you could just as easily get a SaaS based one with an Oracle database and a strong, trusted dictator in place, like the government, to do it too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
But
yeah,
if
it's
you
the
can
whole
find
decentralized thing means adversarial by definition. Yeah,
if you can find opportunities that rely on repeatable execution for part of their means of operation, which is to say that the participants don't trust each other, then we're indispensable. Our system is indispensable in that terrain, and in that terrain only, I think.
I agree. And let me think about that.
Yeah. So
There's nothing in the hopper at the
sort of,
moment.
maybe, kind of have an, like, I feel like we're coming on to par with modern systems. Like, the performance that I can see on the horizon for the Artifact database system is kind of on par with a modern SQL database, kind of. But so,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of narrows the gap a lot there. But we really need the things that people can't live without us on, and that's the blockchain area.
I agree. Let me think about that one.
All right.
There's a few that come to mind,
Yeah, that's
which
what I'm always trying to look for, is those
yeah,
opportunities. That's why I like the TFU, and I like
leave
that
that with me.
frontline deployment, that dark edge deployment.
Yeah,
Now,
I've got a few things that we can talk about off.
okay,
Can you give me just 2 minutes? There's someone knocking at the door here.
sure.
I'll be right back and see what happens.
All right.
Okay, thanks for that. Yep, done.
No worries. The third, the final feature that we don't yet have a use case for or capability for is burstability, or the ability to do large fan out computation. Again, I like those ones because not many other systems handle that well, and I think that our design does. And I'd like to be able to use it for that. Something that needs a large amount of parallel processing in a sudden burst is a good type of job.
There's a couple of things that immediately come to mind, but I'll check and report back.
Yeah, because it
I'll
feels
think
like
about
the demand that you're tapping into is not specialized to us. Like, it's demand that's kind of like it's the low hanging fruit, which is good, but we can be end up in a situation where we're in competition with conventional players who are probably more practiced at it if it's their area of speciality. But it becomes our area of speciality if we can get into the dark edge space or the elastic computing space.
yes, and there's a few things that immediately put to mind, especially inside of security services.
All right.
And you know, the kind
All
of
right.
arms, drones,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. So that's okay. And
Okay,
then
let me think about that.
the
Yeah.
final piece. Sorry, buddy. Just a bit slow tonight. I think I worked too hard and didn't drink enough water.
Okay. No worries.
No, sorry, it's gone. Yeah. So those are basically the features that we should be trying to steer towards if we can.
What I'll do is because there's and there's likely to accelerate as well with the involvement of um, the kind of the, well, effectively the Foreign Office and industry in terms of Africa. There's likely to be many opportunities falling from the sky, way more than you and I could possibly deal with. So I'll start sifting them for that kind of issue.
Mm. I remember what I was going to say. It was the thing that really caught my interest was you were saying that if we could demonstrate a secure database capability, then we could gain access to more highly protected databases of like sensitive information, like frontline information that can be processed and used to improve the situation. That's another area where a highly secure dark edge blockchain gives it an advantage over a traditional offering. Like, you could do everything we're
Why
talking
wouldn't
about.
that be?
What?
Why would that be superior to just spending, 7 figures on hardening a system, traditional system?
Because it wouldn't cost 7 figures?
So it's a cost thing as opposed to a performance thing. Performance is, similar.
I would argue
And
performance is better because of the fact that the database is more durable and it can be transported around more it's more portable, and it's also fragmentable. Like, you can have little bits of it here and there. It also comes with strong integrity guarantees. So the cost is a big one because wars are basically economics games, not games, economics exercises. And
Yeah.
but also, if the cost was equal, a dark age system would be superior to a hardened centralized system because of its survivability, particularly if you're not winning. If you're winning and your satellite network is in place and your telecommunications will work and your server farms haven't been bombed, then, great. But if you're not winning, that's when you really need the dark age blockchain.
Mm.
And so having a
Very
situation where
cool.
we could gain access to more specialized databases if we were able to demonstrate hardened capability, that would really cement our position because you're not gonna. I think with all the features we're offering, you're not going to be able to compete with that. And then if you've also got these highly prized databases in there, now the system becomes sticky in a way because now it's like, well, just like how Signal became sticky for you guys inadvertently, it's sticky because everyone's there and the data's all there. If we can get it to a position where the valuable data is here on our system, that's a great position to be in because then the stucks start flowing. The stucks now cluster around the data. They cluster around the information. No info, no stuck. That's how the fucking world works.
Right. And because we've got the hierarchy that we talked about 3 calls ago, I think it was, the hierarchy of repos,
Yep. The permission
then
systems.
you get, yeah, you get this, say if I'm Lloyd's of London and I've got a whole bunch of information about piracy, um, in the Straits of Hormuz or wherever, and you're a shipping owner and you've got your own information. Now we're starting to talk about that kind of oil and gas problem that we're dealing with
Mm,
years ago, where you don't necessarily want to tell the entire world uh, that you've got these problems. You might even
mm,
want to anonymize it, but have it secured.
mm.
Because if you were, as a shipping owner, you might not want to. I'm sorry, I'm talking this in my own head. I will stop doing that. I'll do that
All right.
offline. But
All
yes,
right. Cool. Cool.
there's one
All right.
obvious
So
way
I should
or
I
one
should
obvious
stop
area.
I should stop the recording now because there's nothing further to cover, right?
Um, yes, yep, yep. Go for it.